Hey guys, it's me Paco, and you're watching Bad Witch Books. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to if you're new here. Today we're going to be going over my March reads, the March wrap-up of all the books I read in March. How many times can I say March in one sentence? But let's get to it. So, we're going to cut to Stats Paco right now. Stats Paco. Hi, y'all. I didn't listen to Cowboy Carter a little too much. I'm sorry to some country. But let's get to the stats. So, for March, I read a total of 13 books. That is very good because a bitch was behind on his reading goal. Goodreads and Storygraph were saying, hey, you're behind. You're so many books behind. It felt like I owed them money the way they were writing me. But, so yeah, I read 13 books. Page read, I read 2,161 pages. 52 hours and 67 hours were listened to. My average rating was a 3.9. Books acquired were like 7, so not as much as February, because we're not talking about February's. 6 series started, and 9 of them were diverse reads. So, the sources: 5 audiobooks, 5 ebooks, and 3 physical books were read. The formats: we read 5 graphic novels and 8 novels. And then of the audience range, 9 adult, 0 new adult, 3 young adult, 1 middle grade. And then ratings, genre, our biggest genre, of course, to surprise no one, was a fantasy at a 6. 6 of them were fantasy, 2 were historical, 1 was a mystery, 1 romance, 3 were sci-fi. But yeah. Those are the stats. I'm glad I was finally able to get to 30 books read this in the end by the end of March, which was the goal. So, like, my goal for this next month will be to get my reads at least at 40. But yeah, back to the bitch who should have done this before but didn't. Okay, so now let's get to the books I read. So I'm going to go over the books I do not own physically, because it's easier for me to do that, and then we'll get to the books I own. So the first book I'm going to talk about today was Catwoman. I believe it's Deadly Liaison. This is volume 1 by Tini Howard. This is the new run of the Catwoman comics by Tini Howard. Now, I've read Tini Howard's work before. I read her, what is it called? Her Excalibur run in Marvel, and where she's like Betsy Braddock is the focus, and I really love that, and it was very magical. It's a very X-Men magic team, sword and sorcery, and this is Catwoman noir, and this story takes place, it's basically Selena Kyle Catwoman has come back to Gotham. She's always coming back to Gotham, and she's on a break with Batman, and she says that she's going to try to, like, kind of take down these mob bosses, or remind these mob bosses who the fuck she is. And in the process, one of the dancers at a club is killed because of events that Catwoman is involved in. And so she's like, you know what, fuck y'all, I'm gonna get revenge. She stays in this hotel where all the mafia people keep their girlfriends and stuff like that, so she's getting all the dirt, and she's trying to take them down. I really enjoyed this. I love Selena Kyle as a character, top 10 fictional characters of all time. Let me know if you guys want that video, a redo of that video. But, I loved her, like, trying to, like, her thought process, the way she was doing it, the way she had to handle new characters, because we are introduced to this new character who's a thief, and then we see Onyx show up, who is a League of Assassins character that's kind of like watching Gotham for Batman while he's out of town. And I really enjoyed Catwoman and her dynamics, so I enjoyed this. I think give it either a 4, 3.5 out of 5. I will be continuing with the series. I really enjoyed it. The next 2 issues, things I read, were X-Men Volume 2. This is the 2021 run. This is the second volume. This is the second volume of the run where the X-Men are voted by for each Hellfire Gala. I read Volume 1, like, either a year or 2 ago, and I've been wanting to continue with the series because I've fallen so behind in the current X-Men comics because the Krakoa era is almost over. They are wrapping it up, sadly. I'm really enjoying it, and so I'm trying to get caught up. So, Volume 2, this leads into the Hellfire Gala, and I really enjoyed Volume 2. We're going to talk about Volume 2 real quick. So, the main plot is, from the last volume and this volume, is that there's this outer space, like, casino that is betting worlds and trying to, like, destroy worlds, basically, and the X-Men are like, you're not going to do that to Earth, not on our watch, And I really enjoyed this. I have, like, slowly been becoming a Jean lover. Because my favorites are Emma and Storm. Look at my shirt. And this and the other comic stuff I've been reading has been making me love Jean. So it was fun. I love Lorna, Polaris, and X-23 also. I am sad that in the next volume, Lorna and X-23 are no longer on the team. But I'm excited to get Magic and Iceman. They're swapping out members. So I'm excited to see where it goes, because I'm also excited just to continue more stories on. Then after that, I read X-Men Hellfire Gala, which is the setup to another comic that I read, A Big Event, which I will be reviewing last. It was the last thing I read of the month, and I physically own that. But this is the second annual Hellfire Gala, where all the mutants have an island nation of Krakoa. That's what the Krakoa means. And every year they have the Hellfire Gala, where they, like, invite everybody, and it's a big event. It's basically like, besides a chance to do awesome variant covers, which I'll show some here, where you get some of the best, like, outfits. It's like the X-Men's Met Gala. Shit is always popping off. The first year was where Scarlet Witch was found dead. This year, instigations happened for Avengers versus X-Men, Avengers, and Eternals Judgment Day. So it's all leading to that. And I'm very excited. I have already read Judgment Day, and I'm very excited to get into it and continue on with the series. This is where they introduced a new X-Men team. So overall, I give this like a 3 because this is all very set up. Yeah. And then the last book I read that I do not own was my book club pick, Omega Morales and the Legend of La Lucha. I enjoyed this. It was a really fun middle grade book. It is about Omega Morales. She is a empath, and her family is all empaths. They all have magical abilities. Hers are kind of weird, and she believes it's because her father is not an empath, unlike everybody else in her family, so she thinks that's kind of affecting it, which they hinted at, but I wish they talked about more of how she feels like that, because the story was really fast-paced. It was a middle grade book. It was really fun, though. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed her family. There was a couple of lessons that I thought were like, this is weird to say to a child, that I was like, maybe we could fix that. But overall, I really enjoyed it. The supernatural part was really fun and creepy at some points. But the audiobook was fun. And I know that Helen, shout out to Helen, read the physical book and said there was really cool art in it. But I read it from the library. So now we will get, and I gave that like a 3.5 stars. So now we will get into the books that I physically own. So the first book I have here, I don't have these in any order, was a book on my 24 for 24, and that is Emily Wilde and the Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. So this book follows Emily Wilde. She is a professor, I believe at Cambridge, and she is trying to write an Encyclopedia of Fairy, and for this story, she is going to this Nordic village where she is trying to get research for it, and she ends up like kind of falling in love with the village and the villagers, like, in her own way. I do believe that our main character is autistic coded. They don't use that language, but very, like, I was seeing signs in the book. But I really enjoyed it. I listened to the audiobook, which I really enjoyed because of the way that this is written. This is her journal we're reading, and so it was fun to read it. And then they had parts where another character wrote in her journal, and the narrator switched for that, and I really enjoyed that. I really did like our love interest in this book, who is a fellow professor. And it is very, like, kind of not lonely cat, but like cat wants to be by themselves, a golden retriever energy. And I like that of this relationship. And I just like the fairy folklore. If you are a big Fae fan and you like it when the Fae are done right, I would recommend this. I don't think this book is for everybody. I would not recommend it for everybody. But if you are a big fan of the Fae and you like actual Fae, I would highly recommend this. So the next book I have was a book for Princess's Book Club, and it was my first 5-star of the year. Can we get a round of applause? Like, I finally read a 5-star. I'd come close, but, like, it was taking so long. It took 3 months, but I got one. And that is An Education of Malice by S.T. Gibson. So this book is a Camilla retelling. Now, if you don't know what Camilla is a vampire novel that takes place a long-ass time ago. And it is actually a vampire novel that predates Dracula. So this is a sapphic retelling of Carmilla, even though Carmilla does have sapphic energy in it, even though it's not intended by the author, the original author. But this is very sapphic and intended by the author, like full-on, like, lesbians. Lesbian vampires, which who doesn't love lesbian vampires? But this book follows two students, Lori and Carmilla, who are attending this university for girls. This also is a historical book. It takes place in... It says it like the first page. 1968. And I really enjoyed this. I think Helen said this, where this book felt like drinking wine. It's decadent. Its writing is gorgeous. I am so excited to get into S.V. Gibson's writing. I know she has Dowry and Blood, which is on my 24 for 24 this year, and Evocation, I think, is coming out later this year. So I'm so excited for both of those. This made me a stan, honestly. If Dowry of Blood is just as good, she's going on the list of authors. But I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the relationship between Lori and Carmilla. I like how Lori wasn't our, like, oh, woe is me, innocent, like, girl that gets in a situation that you would typically see in this situation. But I really enjoyed this. I thought this had a great depiction of a toxic mentor relationship that, like, the living embodiment of a red flag character is in this book, that she might be on my, like, list of characters I want to fight at a Denny's parking lot. Because every time this character spoke, I was like, bitch, let's go. Like, let's go. Put up your fists. Like, I was like, girl, you need... I was ready to fight. But I really enjoyed this. If you are a vampire lover at all, if you like Sapphic, if you love dark academia, this fit perfectly. The only regret I have is that I didn't read this in the fall, because this is a perfect, like, fall, rainy, dark, dreary cloud read. But I really enjoyed this. I love this book. Like I said. The next book I have here is A Reckless Oath by Casely Smith. I read this for Book Roast's yearly magical readathon thing. It's like a path where you could choose each prompt, kind of. It's like, you choose this, so then if you chose this, you get this. And this prompt for March was, the one I chose, was pick a book that is not the first in the series or the last in the series. And this is book 2 of A Reckless Oath, is the sequel to A Ruinous Fate. And the Ruinous Fate follows Callie, who is a witch and a siphon, so she has very, like, rogue powers where she can touch and drain your magic. And she has also a fate, like, she's pretty sure she's fated to be a blood warrior, which is like these chosen ones, for a war against the witch queens. And shit happens. There's sirens, there's Valkyries, there's gay. It's very good. I really enjoy this world. I will say, one of the issues I had in the last book is not as big in this book, but one issue I do have is I feel like we are not told the information we should be told, and then we are kind of... The way that information is told in this book is one of my problems. Like, there was a part in this book, we find one of our characters has a history with the Witch Queens, that it felt like there was big revelation in the last book that either I missed, or it just didn't feel like that. But I still really enjoyed the series. I will be reading the rest of it when it comes out. This is, like, my current, like, YA, like, I try to get and read each month, series. I think it's like 3 or more books. I'm hoping it's more than 3. Like, I'm hoping this is more than a trilogy, because I like trilogies. I love duologies, but I need a big series that I could, like, sink my teeth into that I haven't had in a while. So I enjoyed this. This had our siren character on the cover, and I love it. Also love plus size rep, bi rep, sapphic rep, all of that in this book. Also love that I noticed that all the 3 major, like, species, you have witches, fae, which don't count because none of our main characters are fae, but witches, Valkyries, and sirens, which are all, like, feminine monsters or creatures, which I realized later. I was like, that's pretty interesting. But I really enjoyed this. This was like a 4, like a low 4, but a 4. Next is my second 5-star of the year. Look at me, 2 5 stars 1 month. I mean, you guys knew that from my stats portion, Stats Paco. But that is A Radiant Curse by Elizabeth Lim. This is the Fairy Loot edition. I know she's gorgeous. So if you don't know already, Elizabeth Lim is an autobiography author for me. She puts her name on it. I'm gonna get it. So this book follows a character this is a prequel to Six Crimson Cranes. This book follows a character from that series, which I won't say which character, like her secret past. And, but basically this is kind of got some Helen of Troy in it. It's got some like Chinese folklore, I believe, Asian folklore, I forget. But basically this is the story of two sisters. One is cursed, one is gorgeous. And cursed in a different way, kind of cursed with... One is basically cursed with ugliness, one is cursed with beauty. The one that is cursed with ugliness wants nothing but to protect her sister, and shit happens. I really enjoyed this series. I loved our main character in this. She was so fun. I enjoyed her I just enjoyed so much of listening to this. This was such a great read. I think this is my favorite Elizabeth Lim book so far. I mean, the character... Once you figure out who this character is in Six Crimson Crane, it will make sense, because this was the character I was, like, dying to know more about, and I was so happy with this. And I believe this is a standalone, and it can be read as a standalone, but I would highly recommend reading Six Crimson Cranes before Duology, before this, just because there are scenes that will be more fun, but it's not a requirement. But I still really enjoyed this. But it's obviously the one sister must fall for the other to rise. Like, oh, so good. Next book I have here is another comic I read, because I was trying to get up to 30, like I said earlier, because I was low and bold. But that is Scarlet Witch, Volume 1, The Last Door by Steve Orlando. Can we first, talk about A Minute for the Dress? Scarlet Witch's new costume. So this book follows Wanda Maximoff as she has set up a new base, a little shop, magic shop, in Texas, I think. But anyway, she has set up a shop, and in this shop there is a red door, and anyone that comes through that red door needs her. Like, that red door will appear to anybody who needs her. And so the first couple volumes of the issues of this story has characters coming through the portal that need her help, and then she goes and sets it off. That's kind of sets off the premise of this. And there is like an underlying mystery that kind of connects each of these things. But I really enjoyed this. Wanda's a character I want to love, and I have some issues with, mainly the fandom. But I really enjoyed this. I love the art of this is gorgeous, and Wanda is a fun character in this. I mean, I relate to Wanda as a mentally ill witch with daddy issues, but greatly relate. I love this. I love Wanda. I love Polaris, who appears in this. There's a great Storm mini comic in here where if you are a Storm fan, I would highly suggest you reading. It's a second part of a comic in here where Wanda interacts with Storm, and it's amazing. But the art is gorgeous. I think Bocelli does the art. Who does the art for this? Because his art is amazing. Is it who I think it is? Russell Dodderman. Russell Dodderman's art is in this. I mean, Russell Dodderman created this costume for Wanda for the Hellfire Gala, actually, and I love it. But I really enjoy this. It does lose a point because it had Hot Agatha, and if you remember from last year, I hate Hot Agatha. She is my mortal enemy. But I really enjoyed this. I'm excited to read Volume 2, which I will be reading very soon. I don't know when, but I will. I gave that one a 4-star. Next book is a book I've had on my radar for the longest time, and that is A Taste of Golden Iron by Alexandra Rowland. So this book is a prince bodyguard romance, M.M.'s McKillian. And this book follows the prince, who is a taste tester. So he touch metal and see what it's made of, and he has memories that bring to it. And in the beginning of the book, he has an issue with the Sultan, his sister's baby daddy, where the father of her child, they're not married though. He has no claim on the baby. They say that a lot of times. And he has an issue with them, which leads to death of a lot of guards. And so he is assigned a new bodyguard. So Kadu is the prince. Does it not say his name in here? Oh, Evermer. is the bodyguard that he's assigned. He's a new guard. He just risen through the ranks, like the all-star, very strict, stern, and he is assigned his guard. And then they are both trying to solve this mystery of like counterfeits that are appearing in the city, which is very dangerous for the way this kingdom is set up. They are like, I like the way that they described it early on in the book. They said they did not come from conquerors. They were merchants that made their kingdom. And so counterfeit is like a big issue for them. But I really enjoyed this. This is slow burn. And there is a little bit of spice, but it's not towards the end. Because I said this is very slow burn. So for my romance girlies, slow burn. And I love a good slow burn. Because yearning. Ooh. And there was yearning. I do want to say, my characters in here, my sweet baby Evermore, sweetie, you can't say things you're saying and then be like, do I love him? After. When you're like, oh yeah, I guess I do. Like, Evermore, sweetie, honey, we need to talk about, like, when we're saying things we feel, what they mean. That's all I want to say. I really loved it. Our two characters they're great, but they're also dumbasses, and I just want to slap them sometimes. There was a great scene when they're like in disguise in like a hookah lounge. It's not a hookah lounge, but that's what I'm picturing in my head. It's called something else, but in my head it's a hookah lounge. And it's great. It's not sexy, but it's my favorites. It's like, oh, tension. A bitch loves tension. So I really enjoyed this. I think there's a prequel with another character that it's a novella that I will be checking out eventually, but I really enjoyed this. If you are a slow burn girly, this is it. I mean, it's the prince bodyguard trope. There's an amazing scene where he washes the prince's hair. That's like, oh, tension. I can smell it. I gave that book 4 stars. Now, one of my most disappointing reads of the year so far. Princess is gonna fight me, and I'm seeing her in a month. She's gonna physically fight me for this. But I read A Tempest in Tea. I gave it 3 stars. Like a low 3. Don't fight me. But, I did not enjoy this as much as I was hoping to. So, A Tempest in Tea, if you don't know what it's about, is about our main character. This is the Fairy Loot edition also. It is about our main character, Arthie. And she owns a tea shop that at night is a blood den for vampires. And she is kind of coerced into doing a heist by the government. And she's very against it because, like any true amazing person, she hates the government, especially when the government is inspired by Britain. And so she has to do this heist from the rich vampires. And so she has to assemble a crew. And I just could not connect with the characters as much as I wanted to. I was at the end, but like it was like the last couple pages where I was like, okay, I'm going to read the sequel. I think my issue with this book was the pacing, at least for me. And also, like I said, I didn't connect with any of the characters right away, like until the end. I will be reading the sequel because I love Hassa Faisal. So To Free the Stars is the embodiment of angst, and I love that. But I'm sorry, I didn't enjoy this as much. It's still pretty, and it was fun, and other people can enjoy it, but I'm sad. I'm sad. Physically ill. Dying. Now. Okay. Next book I read, I did a vlog, so that vlog will be linked below, but that was Nettle and Bone by Miss T.K. Fisher. This book is a fairy tale vibed. It is about Mara, a princess who doesn't want to marry the prince but wants to kill him because he is a terrible, terrible man. And so she goes to a Dustwife, which is a death witch, to ask for help. And I really enjoyed this. Like I said, the vlog is out. So far, this is my highest rated witchy book. It's like a 4.5 witchy of my witchy vlogs. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. Last book I read today. Not today. Last month. It's April. Of course I'm doing this one this late. Of course I'm doing this one. This video should have been uploaded an hour ago. I have issues. But the last book I read was Avengers, X-Men, Eternals, Judgment Day. So this book is all basically fuck you, Moira. So, what you need to know for this book is that the Eternals, which are these, if you haven't seen the movie, out there. Eternals are like immortal characters that have been on Earth since caveman days. Their main job is to like protect humanity from and also eradicate deviants, which are like Eternals but bad, made wrong, things made wrong. And someone, Moira, fuck you, in the streets, Danny's 12 o'clock, tells the Eternals that mutants who have conquered death, that is one of the major things of the Krakoa era, they are deviants. And so the Eternals are like, no, we're gonna wipe this out. And the Avengers are kind of like, what the fuck is going on? It's like Captain America and Iron Man are just like, what the fuck is going on? And so it starts off with an event, X-Men Eternals War, Team X-Men all the way. And they kind of bring a god back to life, the Avengers, to stop it. And the god is like, it's a Celestial, which are like the space gods in Marvel. And the god is like, so humanity, y'all suck. So I'm going to judge everyone on Earth. And if the percentage of y'all fail, wiping it out, Earth is done. It's done. It's over. If the bigger percentage y'all fail. If y'all do succeed, I'll go away. But if y'all fail, everyone's dying. Death to all. Wendy Williams clip. Death to all. But I really enjoyed it. Like I said, this book kind of made me a Jean fan. I was reading this on call with Helen and Princess, and there was like lines in this book where this god read Tony Stark and Jean for filth that I had to read to them because he did not have to go as hard at them, and yet it was fun for me personally as a Tony Stark. Like, I don't hate him as much as like Charles, but as a Tony Stark auntie, it was fun. But I really enjoyed it. There was like some scenes in here that I really enjoyed. Like, my favorite is because you see my favorite is you see the god appearing to a bunch of different characters, and he's like, I appear before Victor Von Doom, and I tell him if he says Reed Richards is the smartest man on Earth, he will pass. He laughs at my face and turns around. Iconic. Like, I love that. There is like a great Storm and Magneto moment that will appear next month in the comic, but it's a tie-in to this. But like, Jean really shines to me in this book. Tony Stark does too. Like, as someone who is a Tony Stark hater, Tony Stark shines in this story. This is by Kieran Gilligan, who, like, he's an iconic writer. He wrote to like some of my people who aren't really X-Men readers or Marvel comic readers. Wicked and the Divine is his own series, and I've read Kieran Gilligan's stuff before, and like, he's just an iconic reader. And the art, I mean, just look at that. Oh, look at that. Like, oh, so good. Sinister is fun in here, but I really enjoyed this. This was a 4, like a good solid 4. Team Mutants. I am glad to knock this out because it leads into X-Men Red, which is a comic I am currently reading right now, and it also is going to lead into later stuff for the X-Men that I'm excited to get to, like Dark Web. Oh, my Madeline Hives rise. But that is all that I read this month. What did you guys read? What was your top read? I mean, Nettle and Bone might have been my top read. No, it wasn't. Nettle and Bone was a 4.5. What the hell am I talking about? Lessons in Education and Malice was my top read of the month. What the hell am I talking about? It's been a long month. It's been a long video. But thank you guys for watching. I try to post videos every Friday, and I try to do vlogs Wednesday. I will be doing sprints once the basketball season ends. But yeah, I will see y'all later.